Hello, my name is Riccardo Scandariato and welcome to the Advanced Software Architecture course. This lecture is on Security Aware Design, Part 1. This lecture is organized in 3 parts. In the first part, we will cover some definitions of security and key concepts related to security. In the second part, we will cover the basic building blocks of security, like for instance, the use of cryptography and so on. And finally, in the third part, we will cover design tactics and design patterns for security. Security as a software quality belongs to the larger category of dependability, and dependability also comprises other software qualities like reliability and safety. The difference, so in essence, security also shares some similarities with these other qualities, like for instance, and particularly safety. The difference being that, for instance, a failure in the context of a safety scenario is an accident, something that has happened by accident. While in the context of security, we speak of incidents because these are the result of an attacker with malicious intent that tries to do some harm to the software system. So the intentionality is what divides security from other dependability qualities. In the next couple of slides, we will cover some key security concepts. And first, we will start with the concept of a security goal. In security, a very important concept is the one of an asset. An asset is something that has value to the stakeholders and therefore needs to be protected from a security perspective. An asset can be something that is tangible, like for instance, information like digital information, or it could also be a resource like a software component or a server, or an asset can also be something intangible, like for instance, the reputation of a company. So as I said, a security goal refers to protecting such an asset from harm, and harm refers to the impact. So what can happen, what effects, undesired effects can happen to such an asset. And most importantly, the impact is categorized in terms of losing one of the security sub-concerns of confidentiality, integrity, availability, and accountability, which we will cover in a few slides thoroughly. In this sense, a security goal is attacker neutral because it refers to the effect, to the loss of value to an asset because of a compromise of a certain asset. The second key concept is the one of security threat. A threat refers to the causes of a harm. So it refers to the actions that an attacker can put in place in order to cause harm to the system. An important thing to keep in mind is that in order to understand and characterize the threats to a system in a proper way, we have to reason about the fact that the attacker has means, for instance, a certain skill level, and also intentions. So what drives the attacker? So the role of the architect is to come up with a design that is immune to the security threats and therefore satisfies the security goals of interest. And in order to do that, they have to follow the following steps. First, they have to identify the assets of interest in a system, and this is done in a dialogue with the different stakeholders of the project. And second, because assets sometimes are a bit abstract, the role of the architect is to connect the asset to the functionality of the system, so in order to make it more tangible and related to the elements of the design. When that is done, the architect, in cooperation also sometimes with a security expert, has to understand and identify the threats that are important and relevant for such functionality. And therefore, as a final step, they have to come up with countermeasures, which are devices in the software design, such that the functionality are constraints in order to avoid the threats that have been identified, and therefore achieving the security goals that were set at the beginning. Note that the first few steps that we have covered relate to what is called the threat analysis and the risk analysis, and the last steps are properly related to the secure design. Security can be categorized into four concerns, which are confidentiality, integrity, availability, and accountability. And in the next few slides, we will cover these concerns one by one, starting with the concern of confidentiality, which refers to the absence of unauthorized disclosure of information to a third party. And this refers to mostly preventing that an attacker or any unauthorized third party from knowing a piece of information, like practically speaking, being able to read a piece of information, for instance, or even maybe being aware that that piece of information is contained or stored in a certain software system. A typical example, which is also related to many security accidents that have happened recently on the web, is the fact that, for instance, the credit card information of the customers of the website should not be revealed to anybody. The second concern is that of integrity, and it also, has confidentiality, refers to information, in particular to the absence of unauthorized or unwanted alteration, changing of the data and information. This means several things. In particular, the fact that only authorized parties, so for instance users or certain administrators, are able to change the information that being either adding or removing or actually updating the information. And also this integrity refers to the concept that alteration, manipulation can only happen according to certain authorized ways. Like, for instance, a certain value can only be changed within a given range. And this concept refers also to the idea of the accuracy and the completeness of the information in the system. And third, if any of the changes, changes that are not authorized do happen, then the system should be able to detect that. And for instance, a typical example is the fact that the logs of a web server should not be altered by an attacker, for instance, in order to cover their traces. So as mentioned before, assets can refer to information, but also to services like web service, like a web server, or also other resources like memory or disk space, for instance. The third concern of availability relates to this type of assets and refers to both the property of readiness and correctness of services and resources, meaning that these services and resources are there when an authorized user needs them, and also they are able to provide correct service. And in this case, a typical example is that of denial of service attacks to take down, for instance, a web portal. The fourth concern of accountability refers to the ability to identify a party that is responsible for a certain decision or action that, for instance, caused harm to the system. And for instance, this refers to the ability of being able to hold a user responsible for a certain malicious or unauthorized action. And a typical example is, for instance, when an employee cannot deny that they have accessed a certain sensitive file that they should not have accessed. The lecture on Security Aware Design Part 1 is finished. Thank you for watching.